"Mom, why are they taking our things?" "Because we can't afford this place anymore, baby, but one day you'll understand." That night, under the rain, a boy made a promise that he would never let anyone make his mother cry again. Years later, he walked back through those same doors, not as a tenant, not as a victim, but as the owner, because sometimes the greatest revenge is success. The knock came before sunrise. It was sharp, impatient, and cold. "Mrs. Carter, open up. This is management." Leah Carter's heart jumped. She froze by the kitchen sink, her hands wet with soapy water. The sun hadn't even touched the windows yet. For a second, she thought she'd imagined it. Then the knock came again, harder this time. Mrs. Carter, her 8-year-old son, Malik, peeked out of the bedroom doorway, rubbing his eyes. "Mama, what's going on?" She forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "It's nothing, baby. Go back to your room." But he didn't move. He never did when her voice trembled. Leah wiped her hands and walked to the door, her breath shaky. She already knew what this was about. She had seen the notices piling up. Pink and white papers slipped under the door like silent threats. When she opened the door, 3 people stood in the hallway. Mr. Lang, the building manager, in his cheap gray suit, a deputy sheriff with folded arms, and a young man in a crisp blue shirt holding a clipboard, the property rep. Mr. Lang spoke first, his tone flat and rehearsed. "Mrs. Carter, your rent is 3 months overdue. We've sent multiple notices. I'm afraid today's the final action." Leah's throat tightened. "Please, Mr. Lang, I just started another job. I can get you half by Friday." He sighed, shaking his head like it was out his hands. "It's not my call anymore." The deputy took a step forward. "Ma'am, you'll have to vacate today." Leah felt her world tilt. "Today? You can't. I have a child. We don't have anywhere to go." The man with the clipboard cleared his throat. "Legally, you were given 30 days. I'm sorry." But he didn't sound sorry. Not even a little. Malik appeared behind her, clutching his worn-out backpack. "Mama." The deputy's expression softened when he saw him, but the others stayed unmoved. Leah's voice cracked. "Please, just give me until the weekend. My son's in school here. Please." Mr. Lang avoided her eyes. "I'm sorry, Leah. Business is business." Those words hit like a hammer. Business is business. She looked at Malik, then at the boxes still unpacked from her last move. This wasn't the first eviction. It had been years of this, scraping by, praying for a break that never came. Leah whispered, "We'll go." It took 2 hours to gather what little they owned: clothes, a mattress, Malik's schoolbooks, a framed photo of Leah's late mother, and the old sewing machine she'd inherited. As the men left, Mr. Lang muttered something under his breath. "Maybe next time you'll learn to pay on time." Leah froze. Her hands clenched around the sewing machine handle. But she said nothing. She just nodded, even as her heart screamed. Malik watched silently, his small face tight with confusion and anger. When they stepped into the street, the cold air bit at their skin. Leah held her son's hand, her other hand gripping the sewing machine like it was an anchor. They stood on the sidewalk, surrounded by boxes and plastic bags. The sky was gray. Cars rushed past, people hurried to work, and no one looked twice. "Where are we going to go, Mama?" Malik asked. Leah knelt beside him, brushing his cheek. "Somewhere better, baby. I promise." She didn't know where better was, but she had to make him believe. They ended up in a church shelter downtown, one of those places that smelled of bleach and prayers. Rows of cots filled the hall, and whispers echoed through the night. Leah couldn't sleep. She watched Malik curled up beside her, his small chest rising and falling. She whispered into the darkness, "I'll make it right, baby. I swear to God, I'll make it right." The next morning, she started walking, from one side of the city to the other. Application after application, rejection after rejection. "You're overqualified. You're underqualified. We'll call you." She cleaned offices, mopped floors, stitched torn uniforms for cash. Anything to keep Malik fed. At night, she'd sit by the shelter window, staring at the building they'd been thrown out of. It was visible from across the street, shining under the city lights. She could still hear Mr. Lang's voice. Business is business. One night, Malik sat beside her, quiet for a long time. Then he asked, Mama, why'd they kick us out? Leah hesitated. Because we couldn't pay the rent, baby. But you work every day. Her eyes stung. Sometimes, working hard isn't enough. He frowned, thinking, then what's enough? She smiled softly. Learning, staying kind, never giving up. That's how we win. He nodded, but the way he looked at that building, that same building that threw them out, told her something inside him had changed. Months passed. Leah got a job at a laundry service. She saved every dollar she could, sewing clothes at night for extra cash. Malik studied harder than ever, straight A's, always the first in class, always quiet, always watching. He started fixing things, radios, lamps, even the sewing machine when it broke. Just like you, Mama, he'd say. One evening, she came home to find him reading a library book titled How Buildings Work. She laughed. You're really reading that, huh? He grinned. Yeah, one day I'm gonna own one. She smiled and kissed his forehead. You keep dreaming, baby. But when she turned away, tears filled her eyes again, because she knew dreams were expensive. Years rolled by. They moved from shelter to tiny apartments, always chasing cheaper rent, safer streets, better schools. Leah's hair grew grayer. Malik grew taller, quieter, more determined. He didn't talk about the eviction anymore, but sometimes she'd catch him staring at buildings, not with anger, but calculation. When he turned 16, he started working at a hardware store after school. By 18, he was tutoring math to younger kids, saving every cent. He got into college on scholarship, civil engineering. The night he got his acceptance letter, he found his mom crying over the kitchen sink. He hugged her from behind. Don't cry, Mama. We made it. She turned and cupped his face, smiling through tears. You made it, Malik. You're going to build everything they said we couldn't. He nodded, but inside, he was already thinking bigger than buildings. He wanted to build a future no one could take away. 10 years later, Malik Carter stood on the same block where he'd once been evicted. Now, he wore a tailored suit, a gold watch, and the calm confidence of a man who had earned every scar. The building looked smaller than he remembered. The bricks were cracked, the windows dirty. But the sign out front said for sale. He smiled faintly. Business is business, he whispered. He bought it within a week. But he didn't move in right away. He didn't even tell his mother. He wanted to fix it first, to make it beautiful, strong, alive again. He hired contractors, painters, electricians, most of them people from his old neighborhood. The renovation took months. When it was done, the once-forgotten building gleamed under the sunlight, standing like a symbol of rebirth. Then Malik made a single call to the real estate firm that still managed nearby properties. The same firm that once sent a man with a clipboard to evict them. Good afternoon, said the voice on the other end. This is Lang Property Management. Malik smiled. Yeah, I remember. The office lobby smelled the same. Polished marble floors, lemon-scented cleaner, and that faint hum of air conditioning that somehow always sounded richer in rich buildings. Malik stepped inside, his reflection rippling across the glass walls. He wasn't here as the little boy with a duffel bag anymore. He was here as Mr. Carter, owner of Carter Development Group. The receptionist looked up, smiling the way people do when they see expensive suits. Good afternoon, sir. Do you have an appointment? Yes, Malik said, his voice calm but steady. With Mr. Lang. She blinked, typing quickly. Of course. He'll be right out. Would you like some coffee? He smiled faintly. No, thank you. As she called upstairs, Malik's gaze drifted toward the hallway. Memories flickered. His mother's pleading voice, the clicking of a clipboard, the echo of boxes sliding across the floor. He straightened his tie. Not today. A door opened. Mr. Lang appeared, older now, heavier, with thinner hair, but the same smug smile Malik remembered from years ago. Mr. Carter, a pleasure to finally meet you. I've heard your company's been doing impressive work in the West End. Malik shook his hand. Thank you. I learned from the best. Lang chuckled, missing the edge in his tone. Come in, come in. They walked into the same office where years ago, eviction orders were signed without second thought. The leather chairs, the framed certificates, the city skyline through the window. Nothing had changed except the man sitting across the table. So, Lang said, settling in, You're interested in one of our listings? Malik opened a folder. Not just interested. I've already purchased it. Lang's eyebrows lifted. Oh, which one? Malik slid a photo across the desk. Lang squinted. Wait, that's 1498 East Willow Street. Malik finished softly. Lang blinked, his voice faltering. That building's under renovation. It was, Malik said. Now it's finished. And mine. For a second, the room went silent except for the faint hum of the air conditioning. Lang forced a polite laugh. Impressive. That old place was a mess. You must have put quite a bit into fixing it up. I did, Malik said. Worth every penny. Lang leaned back, adjusting his cufflinks. So, what brings you here, Mr. Carter? You already own it. Malik's eyes narrowed slightly, his tone still calm. I want to talk about what happens next. Lang frowned. Meaning? Malik smiled. You see, I'm not just turning it into apartments. I'm rebuilding the block. Community center, affordable housing units, youth programs. Real opportunities for people who grew up like I did. Lang blinked, unsure if he'd heard right. That's ambitious. But that neighborhood's barely profitable. You'd make more turning it into luxury lofts. Malik's voice hardened. Profit isn't the only kind of return, Mr. Lang. Lang hesitated. You're serious about this? I'm serious about everything you said wasn't worth saving. Lang shifted uncomfortably, his smile fading. Well, I'm sure you'll make it work. Malik rose to his feet. I will. As he turned to leave, Lang's voice followed him. Wait, Carter. We've met before, haven't we? Malik paused in the doorway, glancing back. Yes, you just didn't remember me. Lang squinted, confused. Malik didn't explain. He just left, the door closing softly behind him. That night, Malik sat alone in the renovated building's lobby. It was quiet now, polished floors, fresh paint, new light fixtures. The same space that once held his mother's tears now glowed warm and safe. He walked through the hallways, imagining the future, children laughing, families cooking, neighbors helping each other. He whispered to himself, "This is for you, Mama." The next morning, Leah Carter stood in her small kitchen, humming softly while stirring oatmeal. She was older now, her hair silvering, her hands rough from years of work, but her spirit still gentle, still unbroken. When she heard the knock on her door, she wiped her hands and opened it. Her son stood there, dressed in a dark suit, smiling in that way that melted her heart. "Morning, Mama." She smiled. "Malik, you look sharp. You on your way to work?" "Actually," he said, "I came to take you somewhere." "Where?" "You'll see." The car ride was quiet but full of warmth. The city rolled by, blocks they used to walk through when buses were too expensive, corners that held memories of struggle and laughter. Leah watched him drive, her eyes soft. "You're so grown now. Sometimes I still see that little boy with a backpack and big dreams." Malik smiled. "That boy just got taller." They turned onto a familiar street. Leah frowned. "Malik, this is..." He parked the car in front of a shining, freshly renovated building. Her breath caught in her throat. The same building, the same number, but it looked brand new. Clean walls, flower boxes in the windows, a playground beside it. She whispered, "This can't be." Malik opened her door and offered his hand. "Come on, Mama. I want to show you something." She stepped out slowly, her eyes wide as she took in every detail. The sign above the entrance read, "The Carter Building, Community Housing and Youth Center." Her hand flew to her mouth. "Malik, no." He smiled. "Yes." Tears welled up in her eyes. "You bought it?" He nodded. "We own it now." She looked up at the windows, trembling. "This is where they..." "I know," he said softly. "That's why I want to make it right." She turned to him, her voice breaking. "How, Malik? How did you?" He smiled, his voice steady. "You taught me. You said to learn, to stay kind, and to never give up." I remembered. Leah covered her face, sobbing quietly. Malik wrapped his arms around her, holding her the way she once held him after every hard day. "You turned pain into power," she whispered. He smiled. "No, Mama. We did." Inside, Malik led her through the halls. Children were painting murals on the walls. A young woman was teaching a class in a bright community room. The air smelled like coffee and hope. Every corner was filled with laughter, the kind that healed old wounds. Leah touched one of the murals, her fingers trembling. It showed a woman and a little boy holding hands in front of a building. Their building, with the words, "Home is where we begin again." She turned to him. "You did this?" He nodded. "Every piece of it. But there's one more thing." He led her to the elevator, up to the top floor. When the doors opened, she gasped. A sunlit apartment, warm and spacious, with a balcony overlooking the city. In the center of the living room stood her old sewing machine, polished, restored, sitting by a window. Leah covered her mouth again. "My sewing machine." He smiled. "I fixed it up. Thought it deserved a better view." She turned to him, her eyes full of tears. "You gave us our home back." Malik's voice softened. "No, Mama. I gave you what you always deserved." That evening, Malik stood on the roof, watching the sunset spill gold across the city. The air was quiet except for distant laughter below. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mr. Carter, this is Jonathan Lang. I'd like to discuss partnership opportunities if you're open to expanding." Malik smiled faintly, typing back. "Thank you, Mr. Lang. But I'm focused on rebuilding what your company forgot." He set the phone down and leaned on the railing. For the first time in years, the city didn't feel heavy. It felt alive, like it was finally breathing again. Behind him, Leah's voice called softly, "Dinner's ready." He turned, smiling. "Coming, Mama." Later that night, after dinner, Leah found Malik sitting by the sewing machine, running his fingers across its metal surface. She sat beside him quietly. "You remember what I used to tell you?" He smiled. "Everything." She nodded. "No matter how cold the world gets, don't let it harden you." He looked at her. "I didn't. I let it teach me." Leah reached for his hand, squeezing gently. "Then you've already won." As the city lights flickered outside, Malik whispered one last time, almost to himself. They evicted a black single mother, not knowing her son would buy the building. Leah smiled, tears glimmering in her eyes. "Poetic justice, baby." He grinned. "The sweetest kind." Outside, the wind rustled softly through the trees, the same street that once carried their pain, now carrying their peace. And for the first time in forever, Leah Carter slept in a home that was truly hers. The Carter building became a heartbeat. Every morning, kids ran through the courtyard. Mothers chatted on the benches. And somewhere, between the laughter and the light, the pain of the past began to fade. Malik stood on the balcony, coffee in hand, watching the life he'd built. It wasn't just a building anymore. It was a promise that no eviction notice could ever erase what his mother had taught him. But success never walks alone. It always brings attention, and not everyone was happy about it. "Carter," said a man in a gray suit, tapping his tablet during the city council meeting, "we admire your idealism, but this project is cutting into a profitable redevelopment zone." Malik sat at the long table, surrounded by investors and officials who spoke like money was oxygen. "I'm aware," Malik said calmly, "but profit shouldn't be the only measure of progress." The man sighed. "Be realistic. The area's value is rising. Your affordable housing plan caps rent below market rate. You're sitting on a gold mine and giving it away." Malik leaned forward. "I'm giving people a chance." Someone at the far end chuckled under his breath. "Chance doesn't pay bills." Malik's eyes met his. "Neither does greed." A hush fell over the room. The man frowned. "Mr. Carter, we understand your background." Malik interrupted, voice like quiet steel. "No, you don't." He gathered his papers and stood. "Meeting's over." As he walked out, the murmurs followed him, words like idealistic, naive rookie. He didn't care. He'd heard worse before he ever wore a suit. Back at the Carter building, Leah was teaching a small group of women how to sew. Old machines hummed softly. Laughter bounced off the walls. When Malik entered, she smiled. "You look tired, baby." He shrugged. "Politics. City council? Yeah, they think I'm wasting money. She chuckled, threading a needle. Then you must be doing something right. He laughed softly. That's one way to see it. Leah looked up. You know, the first time I got evicted, I cried for 3 days straight. Thought I'd failed you. But look at this. She gestured around. The bright room, the smiling women, the hum of hope. You turned tears into something beautiful. Malik knelt beside her chair, resting his hand on hers. You did that too, Mama. I'm just building on your foundation. She smiled, eyes wet. Then keep building, son. Don't let them stop you. Outside, the sound of hammers echoed. The second phase of construction had begun, a youth tech lab and a rooftop greenhouse. But there were whispers. A local paper ran a headline. Developers' charity project causing friction in rising district. Online forums questioned his funding. Anonymous comments called it a publicity stunt. Malik ignored most of it, until one morning, he got a letter. It was from the city zoning office. Notice of investigation, pending review of financial compliance. He stared at it for a long time. Someone wanted to slow him down. Later that afternoon, he walked through the building's lobby and noticed a familiar face sweeping near the elevator. Old Mr. Jenkins, one of the neighbors from years ago. Gray hair, kind eyes, a back slightly bent from work. Mr. Jenkins? Malik said softly. The old man looked up, blinking. Then his eyes widened. Malik? Little Malik Carter? Lord, boy, look at you. They hugged, laughing. I can't believe it, Jenkins said. You're the one behind all this. Yeah, Malik said, smiling. You used to give me apples on the way to school. I remember. You always said you were going to buy this building one day. I thought you were just dreaming. Malik laughed. Guess I wasn't. Jenkins smiled proudly. Your mama must be real proud. She is. The old man looked around. You brought life back here, son. It's like the blocks breathing again. Malik nodded, feeling the weight of those words. That's the plan. That evening, as the sun fell behind the rooftops, Malik sat in his office reviewing documents. The investigation could take months, maybe years. And if they froze his permits, everything would stop. His phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. Malik Carter. A smooth voice replied, Mr. Carter. Jonathan Lang here. Malik's grip tightened on the phone. Lang continued. I hear you're facing some zoning delays. Maybe I can help. Malik leaned back. And what would that cost me? Lang chuckled. Nothing, if you're willing to partner. My firm has the right connections. You have the vision. Together, we could turn your project into something bigger. Malik said nothing. Lang's tone softened. Think about it, Carter. We could change this city. Don't let pride hold you back. Malik's voice stayed calm. You didn't care about this city when families lived here. Lang sighed. Don't make this personal. It is personal. Then you'll lose. Malik smiled faintly. I've lost before. Didn't stay that way. He hung up. A week later, Malik's office filled with volunteers. High school students, college interns, retired teachers, people who believed in what he was building. They painted walls, planted trees, handed out food. And slowly, the noise outside started to quiet. The rumors began to fade. But the city still hadn't lifted the investigation. Malik worked day and night, slept on his office couch, until one night, Leah found him there, asleep with blueprints covering his chest. She shook her head gently and covered him with a blanket. Her whisper filled the quiet room. Even the strongest builders need rest. The next morning, he woke to the sound of laughter. Outside, a group of kids were testing drones in the courtyard, small machines buzzing under the morning sun. A teenage girl waved at him. Mr. Carter, we finished the coding program. He smiled, walking over. You did all that. She nodded proudly. Yeah, we're going to enter the city science fair. Her excitement hit something deep inside him. The same spark that used to light up his mother's eyes when he brought home good grades. Then you better win, he said. She grinned. You sound like my mom. He laughed. That's a compliment. As he watched them fly their drones, something inside him shifted. Maybe the system was slow. Maybe power played favorites. But this change didn't need An older woman shouted, We'll stand with you. Cheers filled the room. And in that moment, Malik realized something. This wasn't just about a building anymore. It was about a whole community learning how to fight back with dignity. Later, when the crowd had left, Leah hugged him tightly. "I've never seen you like that," she said. He smiled faintly. "Like what?" "Like your father," she whispered. "Strong, brave, but kind." Malik's throat tightened. "I hope I'm half the man he was." She looked at him with quiet pride. "You're more." Outside, the city lights blinked like small stars. And Malik Carter, the boy who once packed his mother's tears into a cardboard box, now stood as the man who built hope for broken walls. But he didn't know what was coming next. Because power never gives up quietly. And Jonathan Lang wasn't done yet. The first sign came quietly. A letter slipped under Malik's office door. Notice of utility termination, due to zoning irregularities. He frowned, unfolding it slowly. Another one followed the next day. Inspection failure, plumbing noncompliance. Then another, and another. By the end of the week, a stack of papers sat on his desk. Every single one stamped in red. Lang had made his move. At first, Malik tried to fix it the honest way. He called offices, filed appeals, sent emails. Every answer was the same. "Please wait for review. Your paperwork is under assessment." Unfortunately, our department is backlogged. But he knew what it really meant. Someone was slowing the system down. When his construction manager walked in, face pale, Malik already knew what he'd say. "Boss, the city froze our permits. We can't move forward until it's cleared." Malik rubbed his temples. "How long?" "Could be months." He looked out the window. Kids are playing in the courtyard. Their laughter hit him like a reminder. This wasn't just a project. It was home for dozens of families. He turned back, jaw tight. "We keep working. Quietly. Fix what we can without permits. Nobody loses their home." The manager nodded. "Got it." That night, Leah noticed his silence at dinner. He pushed food around his plate, lost in thought. "What's wrong, baby?" she asked gently. He sighed. "They're trying to shut us down." Her brow furrowed. "Who?" "Lang. City partners. Everyone who sees this place as land, not lives." Leah reached across the table, her hand resting on his. "You've come too far to stop now." "I know," he said, "but sometimes it feels like I'm fighting ghosts with bare hands." She smiled softly. "Then you pray with one and build with the other." Malik laughed quietly. "You always know what to say." "Only 'cause I've been in the storm too," she said. "But storms don't last forever." A few days later, Malik's phone buzzed. A call from an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Mr. Carter," came a voice, sharp, confident. "Detective Alvarez, City Financial Crimes Division. We'd like you to come down for a statement." "Statement about what?" "An investigation. Some irregularities in your funding sources." Malik froze. "That's not possible." "Then you have nothing to worry about. See you at 10 a.m. tomorrow." Click. The next morning, Malik sat across from two detectives in a gray room that smelled like coffee and old paper. They slid a file toward him. "Your company accepted a donation from Apex Holdings," Alvarez said. "You aware they're under federal review for fraud?" Malik frowned. "That donation was clean. We vetted it." The other detective leaned forward. "Maybe, but the timing looks suspicious." Malik stayed calm. "I built this project from honest work. You can check every dollar." Alvarez nodded. "We will. Until then, you're under temporary restriction from new funding activities." Malik's heart sank. That meant no new investors. No payroll extensions. No expansion. Lang's shadow stretched further than he thought. When he got home that night, Leah was sitting by the window, sewing a torn shirt. He dropped onto the couch, exhaling deeply. "Long day?" she asked. He nodded. "They froze my accounts." She looked up, eyes full of quiet concern. "They're testing your spirit, Malik. Don't give them what they want." He looked at her, defeated. "And what do they want?" She set down her sewing, voice firm. "For you to forget who you are." He stared at her, the words sinking deep. Weeks passed. Bills piled up. Supplies slowed down. One by one, workers had to leave. Some apologized. Some cried. Some just couldn't afford to stay. Malik walked through half-finished halls. Wires hanging, paint unpolished, dreams paused midair. The building was alive, but struggling to breathe. One afternoon, A little boy named Jaden, one of the tenants, ran up to him holding a crumpled drawing. "Mr. Carter, I drew you something." Malik knelt, taking it gently. It showed the Carter building, tall and bright, surrounded by smiling people. He smiled. "This is beautiful, Jaden." The boy grinned. "Mama says you made this place magic." Malik swallowed hard. "Tell your mama she's right." As Jaden ran off, Malik folded the drawing carefully, sliding it into his pocket. He needed that reminder. Later that week, Lang called again. "Carter, let's not make this harder than it has to be." Malik didn't answer. Lang continued, voice smooth like oil. "You're a smart man. Sell me the property, and I'll double your investment. Walk away rich." Malik stared out the window. "You can't buy what you don't understand." Lang chuckled. "Understand? I understand better than you think. You want to save your little block? Fine. But don't come crying when the city buries you in paperwork." "Then I'll dig my way out," Malik said. Lang's tone hardened. "You're playing a big man's game. And in this city, big men play dirty." Click. That night, Malik couldn't sleep. He sat on the rooftop, the city glittering below, the air heavy with frustration. He whispered, "What do I do, Mama?" Leah appeared quietly behind him, wrapped in a shawl. "You keep standing." He looked at her. "Even when everything's falling." "Especially then," she said softly. "You think the world gave me strength when they evicted us?" "No, I built it. You're building yours now." He nodded slowly, the fire returning to his chest. The next morning, Malik called a press conference. Journalists filled the courtyard. Cameras clicked. He stood behind a podium, no script, just truth. "They said I don't belong here," he began. "That a kid who once slept in his mother's car couldn't own a building, couldn't build a dream, couldn't make something real." He paused, eyes scanning the crowd. They were wrong. Flashes went off. "This place isn't just mine. It belongs to every family that's ever been told they don't matter. To every mother who worked 2 jobs and still lost her home. To every child who dreams in the dark. We're not leaving. We're rebuilding." The crowd erupted in applause. The speech went viral overnight. Thousands of people shared it. Donations poured in. Journalists dug into Lang's background, and cracks began to show. Within days, a headline broke. Real estate mogul accused of manipulating city zoning for profit. Lang's empire began to tremble. Malik sat in his office watching the news, silent. He didn't smile, didn't gloat. He just whispered, "Thank you, Mama." A week later, a government letter arrived. Investigation closed. All permits reinstated. He exhaled, tears filling his eyes. Leah walked in, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Good news." He handed her the letter. She read it slowly, then smiled. "The storm's over." "Maybe," he said, "but I learned to build in the rain." She laughed softly, squeezing his hand. "That's my boy." That evening, Malik gathered the community on the rooftop for a small celebration. Music played, food shared. The city skyline sparkled in the distance. Lang was nowhere in sight, his power fading, his name whispered only in cautionary tones. Malik raised his glass. To home, to hope, and to everyone who refused to give up. The crowd cheered. Leah smiled proudly. And as the stars lit the sky, Malik realized the battle had broken something, but it had also built something stronger. Not just walls, not just programs, a legacy. The morning sunlight poured through the windows of the newly restored Carter building, lighting up hallways that had once been cracked and silent. Malik walked through the courtyard, inhaling the aroma of fresh paint and new life. The tenants were returning, moving their furniture back, their laughter filling the space like a chorus of hope. He paused by the community garden. Children ran between flower beds, digging, planting, learning. For a moment, it felt like everything had gone back to normal. Then his phone buzzed. It was an email from a local news station. "We'd like to feature your story. Can we film a segment this Friday?" Malik hesitated. Media attention was a double-edged sword. He knew this could bring resources, donations, and national recognition, but it could also attract scrutiny and people with agendas. Leah, sitting nearby, noticed his pause. "You're thinking about the risks, aren't you?" He nodded slowly. "I built this for the people, not headlines. But maybe this is how we protect it, long-term." She smiled. placing a hand on his shoulder. Then let's tell it the way it is. Honest. Straight from the heart. By Friday, the courtyard was bustling with reporters, camera crews, and curious neighbors. Malik stood in the middle, flanked by Leah and some tenants. A small crowd gathered, smartphones recording, live streams capturing the moment. The reporter approached, microphone in hand. Mr. Carter, your story has inspired thousands online. Can you tell us why you decided to rebuild this property after everything that happened? Malik looked around at the faces of the tenants, their hope, their resilience, their trust. He took a deep breath. I didn't rebuild it for me, he said firmly. I rebuilt it for them. For every family that's ever been told they don't matter. Every single mother, every child, every dream deferred. This building is proof that patience, faith, and hard work can overcome even the harshest obstacles. The camera zoomed in on Leah, smiling proudly. The crowd clapped, some cheering, some wiping away tears. The segment aired that evening. Views skyrocketed. Social media exploded with messages of support. People from across the country were reaching out with offers to help, donate, and invest in the community. Malik and Leah watched from their modest apartment above the building. The room felt charged with excitement, but also tension. This is amazing, Leah whispered. People actually care. They see what you did. Malik rubbed his temples. Yes, but now everyone wants a piece of it. Investors, nonprofits, journalists, they're all showing up. Some with good intentions, some with strings attached. I can't lose sight of why I started this. Leah nodded, then set boundaries. Lead with purpose. Nothing else matters. Within a week, offers began arriving. Some wanted to fund additional apartments. Others wanted to run programs in the community center. Malik met with them all, listening, asking questions, and turning down those whose motives weren't pure. One afternoon, a sharply dressed man named Mr. Hawthorne arrived. He shook Malik's hand firmly. Mr. Carter, I've been following your story. Incredible work. I manage several philanthropic foundations, and we'd like to invest in expanding your project nationally. Imagine this model in cities across the country. Malik's eyes narrowed slightly. National expansion sounds good on paper, but this isn't a business to me. It's home. It's people. Hawthorne smiled smoothly. Of course, but think bigger. You could impact thousands, maybe millions. Isn't that worth a little compromise? Malik felt a familiar tension. He remembered the days when Lang had promised wealth and power in exchange for surrendering his morals. I appreciate the offer, Malik said carefully, but my priority is the families here. If we expand, it's on our terms, and their needs come first. Hawthorne's smile faltered. I see. Very principled. I hope your principles don't stop you from scaling. Meanwhile, the community noticed the change too. Some neighbors were inspired, rallying around Malik's vision. Others were skeptical, wondering if the sudden fame would bring trouble. One evening, Malik walked the halls, checking in on families. An older woman, Mrs. Jenkins, approached him. Malik, I've seen a lot in my life, she said, gripping his arm. I don't know how you did it, but you reminded us what it feels like to belong. Don't let anyone take that away. He nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. I won't. I promise. This is yours as much as it is mine. With the national spotlight came pressure to speak publicly. Malik was invited to talk shows, podcasts, and conferences. Some asked him to share his story for motivational purposes. Others tried to turn it into a business lesson. Leah kept him grounded. Remember why you started. Not for claps or cameras. Not for money. For people. He repeated it like a mantra before every appearance. But fame also brought jealousy and scrutiny. Lang, humiliated after his failed schemes, resurfaced with subtle threats. Anonymous calls, misleading reports to city officials, and attempts to lure tenants with fake promises. Malik responded the only way he knew how, quietly, methodically, and legally. He documented everything. He strengthened tenant contracts. He ensured that the building's ownership was transparent and untouchable. He learned quickly that running a community meant more than restoring walls. It meant protecting dreams from those who saw them as opportunities to exploit. By mid-year, the Carter building was thriving. Children learned in the new community center. Families grew gardens. Workshops and mentorship programs were running. National media coverage painted Malik as a visionary. Yet he remained humble. He didn't flaunt wealth. He didn't take trophies. Every press clip, every award, every handshake, he treated as tools to continue his mission, not personal glory. Leah often teased him gently. "You're like a superhero without a cape." Malik chuckled. "I prefer being just a man who remembers where he came from." One evening, Malik stood on the rooftop again, overlooking the city. The skyline was alive with lights, each one a story, a struggle, a dream. Leah joined him, leaning on his shoulder. "You've done more than I ever imagined," she said softly. Malik exhaled. "We've done more, and it's only the beginning. But the real test is staying true to this when the world wants to turn it into something else." She smiled. "Then we'll remind them. Together." He nodded, eyes on the horizon. Together, the spotlight had arrived. Fame, recognition, and resources were within reach. But Malik understood something Lang never would. The true power was not in the attention, but in the people, the purpose, and the unshakable belief that no one could take away what had been earned with patience, grit, and love. And with that knowledge, Malik knew he could face whatever came next: national expansion, media scrutiny, or the inevitable challenges that awaited him, without losing himself or the community he had fought to protect. The morning air was sharp, carrying the scent of rain and asphalt. Malik adjusted his tie, a nervous habit he'd picked up over the past few weeks. Today wasn't just another meeting. Today, the Carter Building was at a crossroads. He walked into the sleek, glass-fronted office of Hawthorne Capital. The lobby shimmered with marble floors, polished chrome, and the quiet hum of ambition. Malik felt out of place. His hands were calloused from years of hard work, not polished handshakes. Yet he held his head high. Hawthorne greeted him with the same smooth smile from before. "Malik, welcome. I trust your day's been productive." "Yes," Malik said, voice steady, though his chest felt tight. "I'm ready to discuss the expansion plan." Hawthorne gestured for Malik to sit across from him. "Fantastic. Let's talk numbers, projections, and growth." Malik listened as Hawthorne laid out spreadsheets, profit forecasts, and a plan to replicate the Carter Building across multiple cities. The potential was massive. Malik could secure funding for dozens of projects, touch thousands more lives, and cement his reputation. And yet, something didn't feel right. "This looks impressive," Malik said slowly, scanning the documents. "But your plan prioritizes profit. The people, the tenants, the families, they become secondary." Hawthorne smiled, a little too knowingly. "Profit allows sustainability, Malik. If we don't make it financially viable, none of it lasts." Malik shook his head. "Not at the cost of integrity. I didn't fight to bring back a community just to hand it over to people who see it as a cash machine." Hawthorne leaned back, studying him like a scientist observing a curious specimen. "You're principled, I'll give you that. But principles don't put roofs over heads, meals on tables, or gardens in courtyards. Compromise a little, and the impact could be immense." Malik's fingers drummed on the table. He thought of his mother, of her tears during the eviction. He thought of Leah, who had stood by him through every sleepless night. And he thought of the tenants, who had trusted him with their homes, their futures. "No compromise," Malik said firmly. "Not if it hurts them. Expansion will only happen on terms that protect the people here. That's my bottom line." Hawthorne's expression tightened. "You'll regret this," he said quietly, almost as a warning. Malik didn't flinch. "Then I'll live with that regret. But I won't betray the people who trusted me." Back at the Carter Building, the tension lingered. Malik paced the courtyard as Leah arrived, her hands full of boxes containing new supplies for the community center. "They're pushing hard," Malik admitted. "Hawthorne wants to scale, fast, without thinking about what we stand for. He's good, but dangerous." Leah put the boxes down and took his hands in hers. "Then we protect this. Together. The right way, not the fast way." Malik smiled, though a weight pressed on his shoulders. Together. That evening, Malik walked the halls, checking on tenants. A little boy, Marcus, ran up, holding a drawing of the building. "Look, Malik, I drew the garden. Malik knelt beside him. That's amazing, Marcus. You've got talent. Maybe one day you'll design buildings too. The boy's eyes sparkled. I will. I want to help kids like me have homes. Malik's heart swelled. These faces, these dreams, this was why he refused compromise. The next week brought another challenge. A group of developers approached the tenants with offers to buy out their apartments. Luxury condos, high rent, promises of better facilities. They whispered about Malik's hesitation to expand. Some tenants wavered, tempted by the money, while others voiced concern over losing the community's soul. Malik called an emergency town hall in the courtyard. Families gathered, some skeptical, some hopeful. I know some of you have been approached by developers, Malik began, voice carrying across the courtyard. They see this building as a product, not a home. But this isn't just a building. It's your history, your memories, your future. I won't let anyone take that from you. A tenant stood, voice shaking. Malik, but what about the offers? The money could help us. Malik looked around, meeting every eye. I understand, but we won't sacrifice our dignity for quick gain. We rebuild with our values, our strength, and our vision. That's what makes this place ours. The crowd erupted into applause. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Others nodded, inspired. Malik felt a renewed sense of purpose. Days later, Hawthorne returned, visibly frustrated. He tried every tactic: flattery, pressure, subtle threats. Malik remained steadfast. I respect your vision, Malik, Hawthorne said finally. But remember, opportunity doesn't wait forever. Some doors close once you decide to ignore the rules of the game. Malik's reply was calm but firm. Then I'll keep building, and I'll make sure my tenants never have to play by anyone else's rules. At home, Malik and Leah sat in the quiet apartment above the building. Leah poured 2 cups of tea. Are you okay? She asked. Malik stared out the window at the glowing city. I am, but this is bigger than anything we imagined. Fame, investors, pressure. It tests everything: patience, grit, faith. Leah smiled softly. Then we test it together. We know who we are. We know what matters. He nodded. And no one can take that away. Weeks passed, and the Carter building became a symbol. News outlets praised the tenants, the gardens, the community programs. People from all over reached out with stories, donations, and offers to help. Yet, for Malik, the real victories were small moments. A tenant getting a job, a child learning to read, a mother feeling safe in her home. Those were the wins no headlines could capture. And as Malik stood on the rooftop one evening, the city sprawling beneath him, he understood the truth. The spotlight could shine bright, but it would never define him. His purpose, his people, and his principles would always guide the way. The morning sun poured through the tall windows of Malik's office, reflecting off the polished wood and casting long streaks across the floor. Malik sipped his coffee, staring at the Carter building's courtyard below. Children laughed, tenants waved, and flowers swayed in the breeze. Everything seemed perfect, and yet Malik couldn't shake the unease that had settled in his chest. He glanced at the stack of papers on his desk: budget reports, renovation plans, and correspondence with investors. Most of it was routine, but one email, buried at the bottom, made his stomach knot. It was from Tony, his childhood friend and now project manager for the building renovations. Malik trusted Tony implicitly. They had grown up together in the same neighborhood, shared dreams, and supported each other through hardship. But the email was different. Malik, we need to talk. I've made a decision. I think you'll understand. Meet me at the office this afternoon. Malik frowned. A decision he'd understand? He had no idea what Tony meant. The afternoon sun was harsh as Malik walked into the office, a storm brewing inside him. Tony was already there, leaning against the desk, arms crossed, a small, guilty smile on his face. Hey, Malik, Tony began casually. Got your email. Malik's eyes narrowed. Yeah, what's this about a decision? Tony shifted uncomfortably. I've been talking to some investors behind the scenes. They offered a big buyout, bigger than anything we've seen. I thought, maybe it's the right move. Malik's heart sank. Behind my back, Tony winced. I thought I was helping. I mean, we could secure everyone's futures, you know. Malik ran a hand through his hair, frustration and disbelief mixing together. You don't get it, Tony. The Carter Building isn't just a property. It's people's lives, their homes, their memories, and you're ready to sell it out for money. Tony's shoulders slumped. I thought we could grow faster, make things bigger. Isn't that what you want? Malik stepped closer, voice steady but edged with fire. Growth is nothing if it destroys the very thing we fought to protect. You're choosing a shortcut. You're betraying everyone who trusted us, and that includes me. Tony looked away, shame evident in his eyes. I didn't see it like that. I thought I was helping. Malik's fists clenched. Helping? By selling out our people? Our families? Tony swallowed hard, but he couldn't meet Malik's gaze. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just wanted to secure the money. Make it safer for everyone. Malik took a deep breath, fighting the rage that threatened to consume him. Sometimes, Tony, the right choice isn't the easy one. The right choice isn't about money. It's about respect, integrity, dignity. Tony nodded slowly, shame written across his face. Understand. I messed up. Malik shook his head. You don't just mess up. This could have cost people their homes, their lives. That evening, Malik called an emergency meeting with the tenants. Word had leaked that investors were trying to buy them out, and fear had started to spread. Families whispered, children looked uncertain, and some parents questioned whether Malik could protect them. Malik stood before them in the courtyard, his voice firm but compassionate. People of the Carter Building, I want to address something important. Some offers have come to buy out our apartments. But let me be clear. This building belongs to the community, and I will never hand it over to those who only see profit. We are not for sale. A murmur of relief spread through the crowd. Some clapped, others wiped tears from their eyes. Malik continued, we will grow, we will improve, but we will do it together with integrity. No one will betray your trust, and no one will take this from us. Leah stepped beside Malik, squeezing his hand. He's right. We've worked too hard to let anyone tear this apart. The next day, Malik confronted Tony one last time. The tension was thick, almost unbearable. You need to understand something, Malik said quietly. Trust is everything in this world. You break it once, and it's almost impossible to repair. But I'm giving you a chance to make it right. Tony nodded, eyes glistening. I want to. I swear I do. Malik handed him a folder. Take this to the tenants. Be honest. Tell them everything, the offers, the discussions, the mistakes. And then you work to fix it. Earn their trust back. I'll be watching. Tony swallowed, a mixture of fear and relief on his face. I will, Malik. Thank you for giving me a second chance. Malik nodded, though his heart still ached. Forgiveness wasn't easy, and rebuilding trust would take time. Over the next weeks, Tony worked tirelessly. He spoke with each family, answered questions, and admitted his mistakes. Slowly, trust began to rebuild, but the shadow of betrayal lingered. Malik watched, proud yet vigilant, knowing the true test wasn't just about fixing mistakes. It was about proving that the Carter Building's values were stronger than greed. Late one night, Malik sat on the rooftop, looking at the city skyline. Leah joined him, a blanket draped over her shoulders. They'll be okay, she said softly. Tony's trying. The tenants believe in you. Malik sighed, eyes fixed on the glowing lights below. I hope you're right. I can't let anyone, not even someone I trust, jeopardize what we've built. Leah rested her head on his shoulder. You won't, because you're guided by something bigger than ambition. You're guided by love, by purpose, by justice. That's why this place survives. Malik closed his eyes, letting the city's hum wash over him. He had faced betrayal, but he had also witnessed resilience. And in that moment, he understood leadership wasn't about being unbreakable. It was about rising again and again, no matter the blows. The following weeks brought a quiet strength to the Carter Building. The tenants grew closer, supporting one another in ways they hadn't before. Malik and Leah worked tirelessly, not just managing the building, but nurturing the community. And though Tony still carried the weight of his mistakes, he too found redemption. The lessons learned in humility, honesty, and loyalty strengthened the foundation of their shared mission. The Carter building stood tall, not just as a property, but as a symbol, a testament to patience, perseverance, and the unshakable bond of a community determined to survive against all odds. Malik woke before dawn, the city still dark and quiet. He poured himself a cup of coffee and stood at the window, staring at the Carter building below. The courtyard was empty, the flowers still wet with morning dew. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. But Malik knew the calm was temporary. The developers hadn't given up. In fact, their persistence had only grown more aggressive. Letters demanding the sale of the building, subtle threats disguised as offers, and rumors meant to unsettle the tenants had started to surface. Malik had dealt with obstacles before, but this felt different. This felt like a calculated attack. He rubbed his temples and turned to Leah, who was quietly reading at the kitchen table. "They're not stopping," Malik said, his voice low but steady. "Every day, there's a new letter, a new rumor. They think we're weak. They think we'll fold." Leah looked up, concern etched on her face. "Malik, we've survived worse. The tenants trust you. We've built more than just apartments. We've built a community that's stronger than any money they throw at us." Malik nodded, but the weight of responsibility pressed down on him. It wasn't just about protecting a building anymore. It was about protecting families, histories, and dreams. And he knew the developers would stop at nothing to break him. By mid-morning, Malik was in the office with Tony and a small team of financial advisors. Spreadsheets, proposals, and legal documents were spread across the table. "The numbers aren't looking good," Tony admitted, pointing at the latest report. "If we don't secure additional funding, we won't be able to finish the renovations on time. And if we delay, the developers will use that against us." Malik slammed his hand on the desk, frustration flaring. "We're not selling. We're not giving up. There has to be another way." A young advisor named Nina spoke up, her voice calm but firm. "Malik, there is a way, but it will require outreach, fundraising, and a lot of community engagement. It won't be easy, but it's possible. People believe in you. They believe in the building." Malik leaned back, eyes narrowing. "I don't just want belief. I want action. I want results. And I want to protect our people." Tony shifted uncomfortably. "We can organize a community fundraiser, maybe get some grants. But Malik, the developers are powerful. They'll try to sabotage anything we do." Malik's jaw tightened. "Then we'll be ready for them. Every step they take, we counter. Every threat, we deflect. The Carter building isn't just a property. It's our home, our legacy, and no one is taking it from us." That evening, Malik walked through the building, stopping to talk to tenants. He listened to their worries, reassured them, and shared updates on the renovations. Children ran past, laughing, while mothers smiled, relieved to see Malik's calm determination. In apartment 4B, he found Mrs. Henderson, an elderly woman who had lived in the building for decades. "They're trying to scare us," she said softly, clutching Malik's hand. "I can feel it. They think we'll give in." Malik smiled gently. "They don't know who they're dealing with. The Carter building isn't just bricks and mortar. It's people, and people like you are stronger than any developer's threats." Mrs. Henderson nodded, tears in her eyes. "Thank you, Malik, for never giving up." Malik squeezed her hand. "We're in this together, Mrs. Henderson. Always." The next day, Malik met with city officials, community leaders, and local business owners. He presented a detailed plan for securing funding, improving the building, and maintaining affordability for tenants. The room was filled with skeptics and supporters alike, but Malik's passion was undeniable. When he finished, silence fell. Then, one by one, hands went up in support. People pledged donations, offered resources, and volunteered time to help. Malik felt a surge of hope. This was the strength he had always relied on, the power of community united. But even as the room buzzed with energy, Malik couldn't ignore the shadows creeping around him. The developers were patient, cunning, and relentless. They wouldn't stop until they either bought him out or broke him. That night, Malik returned to the rooftop, staring at the city lights. Leah joined him, wrapping her arms around his waist. "They're not giving up," she said softly. "But neither are we. Malik nodded, eyes scanning the skyline. I know, and I won't let them win. The Carter Building is more than just a place to live. It's a symbol, and symbols can't be bought or sold. Not if we fight for them. Leah rested her head on his shoulder. You've already done more than most could ever imagine. And the tenants, they believe in you. That's more powerful than money. Malik closed his eyes, letting the cool night air wash over him. He knew the days ahead would test every ounce of his patience, skill, and courage. But he also knew that with Leah, Tony, and the community by his side, they could face anything. Over the next few weeks, Malik and his team launched fundraising campaigns, held community events, and strengthened relationships with city officials. Every small victory brought renewed hope, but the pressure never let up. Developers tried subtle intimidation tactics, spreading rumors and offering bribes to key tenants. Malik countered each move with transparency, honesty, and unwavering commitment. One evening, after a particularly tense meeting, Tony approached Malik. You were right, he admitted quietly. This isn't just about money. It's about people, and you show me what real leadership looks like. Malik smiled, a flicker of relief crossing his face. It's never just about me, Tony. It's about all of us. The building, the tenants, the community. We protect what matters together. Tony nodded, renewed determination in his eyes. Then let's finish this, no matter what they throw at us. The Carter Building had survived threats before, but Malik knew this was a battle unlike any other. The developers were powerful, but the community's bond was stronger. And as Malik looked out over the city, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had faced betrayal, fear, and uncertainty. Now, it was time to prove that resilience, integrity, and community could withstand even the most relentless pressure. The Carter Building wasn't just standing, it was thriving. And Malik was ready to fight for it, whatever it took. Malik woke to the sound of his phone, buzzing nonstop. He groaned, rubbing his eyes. The sun had barely risen, but already chaos had arrived. It was a text from Tony. They're moving in today. Lawyers and contractors. They're trying to seize the building. Malik's heart sank, but he didn't panic. Not yet. Not after everything they had fought for. He grabbed his coat and headed out, determination in every step. Leah followed, carrying a thermos of coffee. We'll face this together, she said softly. Malik nodded, squeezing her hand. As they approached the Carter Building, a flurry of activity met them. Trucks were parked in front, heavy equipment lined the sidewalk, and men in suits were trying to gain entry. A group of tenants had already gathered, frightened but resolute. Malik stepped forward, voice firm and commanding. Everyone stay calm. This is what they want, chaos, fear. We won't give it to them. A man in a crisp suit approached, flashing a smug smile. Mr. Carter, I think you understand. Legally, this building belongs to us now. Step aside, and no one gets hurt. Malik squared his shoulders. You think paperwork and threats scare me? This isn't just a building. It's a community, a home, and it's mine, and theirs too. You will not take it without a fight. The man laughed, clearly enjoying the confrontation. A fight? Against lawyers and money? You're delusional. Malik didn't respond. Instead, he turned to the tenants. Everyone, stay with me. We've built this together. We defend this together. Are you ready? A chorus of voices shouted in agreement. Yes, we're ready. Malik quickly organized a strategy. Some tenants were tasked with contacting media outlets, making sure the story of the attempted takeover went public. Others coordinated with city officials and local authorities. Volunteers formed human chains to protect entrances, while others gathered evidence of the building's rightful ownership and Malik's investments. Tony handed Malik a stack of documents. Here's everything: deeds, payment records, renovations, tenant agreements. Legally, we're bulletproof, but the public pressure will help. Malik nodded, taking a deep breath. Then let's make sure everyone knows the truth. Not just the law, but our story. By mid-morning, cameras and journalists had arrived. The city had caught wind of the drama, and soon, live broadcasts showed the Carter Building, Malik, and the gathered tenants standing firm. A reporter approached Malik. Can you tell us what's happening? Malik looked straight into the camera, calm but resolute. This building is not for sale to greedy developers who only see profit. It's a home, a community, a safe place for families. We've been threatened, intimidated, and pushed to the edge, but we will not give up. Not now, not ever. The reporter nodded, impressed. And the developers? They can try, Malik said, his voice unwavering. But they'll face more than paperwork. They'll face the power of people who refuse to be silenced or displaced. They'll face the truth. Inside, Malik and Tony prepared for the developer's legal team. The lawyers pushed, trying to enter the building, claiming imminent ownership. Malik countered each point with evidence, calm logic, and meticulous documentation. Hours passed. Tension hung in the air like a storm about to break. Outside, tenants chanted, waved banners, and held their ground. News helicopters hovered overhead, broadcasting the standoff live. Finally, the lead developer stormed into the building, red-faced and furious. Enough. You can't fight us forever. Step aside, or we'll use force. Malik met his glare without flinching. Force won't work. Law won't work if the people you're trying to intimidate don't support you. We are united, and we will prevail. The developer smirked. We'll see about that. But before he could act, city officials arrived, armed with legal notices confirming Malik's ownership and the building's protections under tenant law. The developer froze. This can't be right. Malik stepped closer, voice steady. It is right, and it's about time the world sees it. Outside, the crowd erupted in cheers as the developer's team backed down. Journalists snapped photos, capturing the moment the Carter Building's defenders stood triumphant. Malik's gaze swept over the tenants, Leah, Tony, and volunteers. Pride swelled in his chest. Mrs. Henderson approached, tears streaming. You did it, Malik. You protected us all. Malik shook his head, smiling. We did it. Together. Leah hugged him tightly. I knew we could. You never lost faith. Malik looked up at the building, imagining the future. Renovations completed, families safe, and a community stronger than ever. This was more than victory. This was justice, earned through patience, grit, and unwavering belief in what was right. The developer finally left, defeated. Malik and his team celebrated with the tenants, organizing a small gathering in the courtyard. Music played, children ran freely, and neighbors shared stories of resilience and hope. Tony clinked his coffee cup against Malik's. To the Carter Building, may it always stand as a symbol of strength. Malik nodded, eyes misty, to every family who believed, to every person who refused to be silenced. We did it for them. Days later, Malik sat in his office, reflecting. The battle was over, but the work had just begun. Renovations needed completion, community programs expanded, and families needed support. But Malik felt ready, stronger than ever. The city now knew the Carter Building's story of resilience, unity, and courage. Malik realized that true power didn't lie in money or influence. It lay in people who fought for what was right, who protected their own, and who refused to be intimidated. Leah joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. What now? She asked. Malik smiled, determination lighting his eyes. Now we build, not just walls but lives, not just apartments but hope. The Carter Building is more than a victory. It's a legacy, and we're just getting started. As the sun set over the city, Malik looked out the window, the building glowing in the golden light. He knew the challenges of tomorrow would come, but with the community by his side, nothing could shake them. The Carter Building had survived the storm, and its people had proven that resilience, courage, and unity could triumph over greed, intimidation, and injustice. The morning air was crisp, carrying a sense of calm that hadn't been there in weeks. Malik stepped out onto the balcony of the Carter Building, coffee in hand, and looked down at the courtyard. Families were already gathering, children laughing and running through the sunlit space that had once been shadowed by fear. It had been days since the confrontation with the developers, yet the thrill of victory still pulsed through Malik's veins. But this victory wasn't just about legal papers or a building. It was about people. His mother, Leah, neighbors, tenants, friends, everyone who had believed in something bigger than themselves. Tony appeared beside him, clapping him on the back. You did it, Malik. You really did it. The city knows the truth now. No one will dare touch this building again. Malik smiled, but his mind was already moving forward. It's not just about keeping them out. It's about making this a place where families can thrive, where children can grow up safe and proud, where people know they belong. Inside the building, preparations were underway for a small celebration. The tenants had brought food, music played softly in the background, and everyone seemed to hum with a sense of relief and triumph. Mrs. Henderson approached Malik, her eyes shimmering with tears. I don't know how to thank you. You save our homes, our lives, our dignity. Malik knelt to her level. You didn't need saving, Mrs. Henderson. You all have been fighting this your whole lives. I just helped make sure the world couldn't ignore you anymore. A group of children ran up, tugging at Malik's sleeves. Can we help fix the playground? One asked. Malik chuckled, ruffling the boy's hair. Absolutely. This building is ours, and we're going to make it better than ever. Across the city, news outlets covered the story of Malik's victory. The images of tenants standing together, defiant in the face of corporate greed, had gone viral. Social media buzzed with hashtag celebrating the Carter Building and its defenders. Messages of support poured in from strangers who were inspired by the community's courage and resilience. Malik read some of the messages aloud to Leah. Look at this one. If they can stand up to the developers, maybe we can fight for our communities too. Leah smiled, tears brimming. You didn't just save a building, Malik. You gave people hope. He nodded. Hope is stronger than any threat, any eviction notice, any stack of cash. In the weeks that followed, Malik and the tenants began revitalizing the Carter Building. Renovations were completed, bringing light and warmth back into the hallways and apartments. The playground was rebuilt, a mural of vibrant colors now covering one wall, depicting families, laughter, and community life. Malik worked alongside everyone, hammer in hand, paintbrush in another. It wasn't about showing authority, it was about solidarity. He laughed alongside the tenants, sharing stories and listening to their dreams. Each conversation, each shared meal, built bonds stronger than any legal document could provide. One afternoon, Malik received a call that made him pause. It was the mayor's office. The city wanted to recognize the Carter Building and its community for their resilience and for standing up against corporate bullying. Malik felt a surge of pride, but also humility. This isn't just about me, he told the mayor on the phone. It's about every family, every neighbor, every person who refused to back down. The city awarded the building a plaque, officially recognizing it as a landmark of community resistance and unity. The ceremony brought even more attention to the building, turning it into a symbol of hope for others facing similar challenges. One evening, Malik and Leah sat on the balcony, watching the sun dip below the city skyline. Children's laughter echoed from the courtyard below, mixing with the chatter of families enjoying the warm evening. Leah leaned her head on Malik's shoulder. You've changed so much, Malik. Not just this building, but everyone here. You made them believe in themselves again. Malik sighed, a mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction in his voice. I didn't do it alone. We all did this. Together. That's the real power, people united. Leah smiled. Your father would be proud. And so am I. Months passed, and the Carter Building flourished. Malik established community programs, tutoring for kids, after-school activities, financial literacy workshops for adults, and job training initiatives. The building became more than just a home. It became a center for empowerment and growth. Tenants often spoke about how Malik had changed their lives. Mrs. Henderson had started a neighborhood gardening club. Children proudly displayed their art and science projects in the common areas. Families organized block parties and celebrations, always emphasizing the unity that had saved them. Malik never sought personal glory. The joy he felt came from seeing others thrive, knowing that their dignity, safety, and dreams were protected. One day, as Malik walked through the renovated hallways, he overheard a conversation between two young tenants. Did you hear about how Malik saved the building? One asked. Yeah, said the other. He's like a superhero. He didn't just fight the developers. He gave us hope. Malik paused, a small smile tugging at his lips. He realized then that the legacy of the Carter Building wasn't just in the bricks and mortar. It was in the hearts of every person who lived there, who had witnessed courage and unity firsthand. He stepped outside into the courtyard, sunlight warming his face. Children ran past him, laughing, while neighbors tended gardens and shared meals. Malik took a deep breath. The building was alive with hope, with resilience, with life. For a moment, he allowed himself to imagine the future, generations of families thriving, children dreaming big, and a community that would never forget the strength of its people. As night fell, Malik stood on the balcony once more, looking over the city lights. The Carter Building glowed softly, a beacon of what people could achieve when they refused to back down. He whispered softly to himself, a promise and a reflection all at once. We stood together, we fought together, and we built something that no one can ever take away. Leah joined him, wrapping her arms around his waist. You did it, Malik. You built more than a building. You built a legacy. Malik looked down at the courtyard one last time, seeing the laughter, the joy, and the community thriving against all odds. He knew the fight had been worth it. Every sleepless night, every moment of fear, every challenge. Because in the end, it wasn't just about the building. It was about people, dignity, and the enduring power of hope. And the Carter Building, with its tenants standing tall, would forever be a testament to that truth.